Hey Gorf and everybody, this is Veteran and this is my Carnage Marauder. Now today, as you can see, I do not have a very good action bar set up, so I think ideally that's where I'll start, and then we'll move on from there as to moves and etc. Let's move to Interface Editor. Now ideally, as a Marauder or any DPS at all, you want to kind of have a very good view. You don't want your screen blocked up. You got to kind of keep track, especially in ops and etc., of enemies, and or in war zones you need to keep a good view of what's going on if, let's say, someone's attacking your healer or etc. So you want it kind of clear, good view. I recommend extending your zoom out a bit. So I believe that's under should be graphics, I think. Let's see, let me try to find it real quick. Yeah, see, camera max distance. That way you can kind of just max it out and you can kind of get a really good view of the battlefield. But some people don't like it. It makes your character look kind of tiny and all. Anyway, back to action bars. We're going to just totally just get rid of everything. Totally scram it. Just get rid of it. I'm going to bring this down. And since I am 60, I'm going to get rid of the XP bar. I'm going to bring my character interface down. Get a good view. I need to move the interface editor over. If I can. What is up with this? I do not need tutorials. Chances are I'll know I'm in combat, so I'm just going to totally get rid of that. I'm going to bring my player buffs down close to my interface alongside my debuff. Ideally about here. Can't move that for some reason. I'm going to bring my target taskbar closer to him. And there we go. As you can see already, I have a pretty good view of the battlefield. I forgot to get rid of this action bar. Alright. Now as to action bars. Ideally, you're going to have your ops frame over here. Just don't even bother with it. Most people just kind of rely on the 3 stacks as usual, so try to just work with it. So I'd suggest it for your main moves, like let's say in PvP for example, try to keep it like simple, small, efficient, and maybe just put it into stacks. So 3. I don't need the tooltip. And we'll use that for now, and then we'll go further into defenses and etc. I'm going to take a part at this. This action bar, I am going to just keep simple, use the regular numbers. You can hotkey it the way you want. But this is where my moves will be. Alright. Ideally, as a Carnage Marauder, primarily most of the time, obviously you need to have a Taro form. It gives you at level 10. I'm guessing most of you might be in the end, kind of, maybe in 60s, and kind of just want to learn it, 55 to 60. But if you are lower, this might be a good chance to take a view at what you'll have towards the end of the game. Now, unlike most, I use double saber throw at the start of every fight. It generates focused for me, just a couple. And then I follow up with force charge. Where is force charge? That's Sith Warrior. So it keeps it nice and simple, you know? Force charge right after that. And look, I already got like half my rage up. After that, you want to work really quick as a Carnage Marauder. It's ideal, especially in PvP and PvE. So maybe before you do force charge, you want to pop gore. That will increase armor penetration by 100%, which just further upgrades your damage. So I'll start off, I'm going to wait till my rage gets low so you can get an accurate view of it. I need to fix something on my, where's the tooltips? I'm missing something, aren't I? Yep, there we go. Increases armor penetration by 100%, so I'll do double saber throw, gore, and then force charge. And that's basically how I start every fight. And you already have everything popping from devastating blasts and etc. Moving on from there, this is where the heavy hitters come into play. After which I will use, where's Massacre? Massacre and Devastating Blast. So this is how I work in this order. I'm going to show an example, then explain real quick. Double saber throw, gore, force charge, then massacre. And you know what? I am actually forgetting something. Going back, it's double saber throw, gore, force charge, spattering assault, so you're at full rage, massacre, and then devastating blast. And that's where your big hit crits come into play. To go further, Ravage is still very important as it is on any other character. But ideally, if you're in PvP, for example, your enemy is going to run away from you, or at least try to. So you're going to want to use Force Choke just before you pop Ravage. It will keep them in place, and you'll be able to throw out the whole thing, and then follow up with the rest of your moves. So, Gore, Force Charge, Spattering Assault, Massacre, Massacre, Devastating Blast, Force Choke, and Ravage. Rinse and repeat. This is a very simple method of playing it. And then just move from there as to what pops and etc. And depending on how your enemy drops, you'll learn more with practice. Vicious Throw is also useful. If you read here on the action tree, damage dealt by a Taru form triggers Slaughter, which finishes the cooldown on Vicious Throw and makes your next Vicious Throw usable on a target at any health without consuming any rage. Anytime that highlights, I would just use in general. It does a bit of damage, a bit helpful, so I'll just throw that on there. And as you'll see when I do my next fight, it's going to pop immediately. Wait for it, and there it is. And throw a Vicious Throw right after Devastating Blast, so I'm just going to kind of maneuver that around. So, double Saber Throw, Gore, Force Charge, Battering Assault, Massacre, Massacre, Devastating Blast, Vicious Throw, Force Choke, then Ravage. Whenever Gore appears off cooldown, just pop it as much as you can. It will just further increase your damage. Armor penetration is always great. And ideally, you're going to want your, what's it called? Your Massacre always up, it will trigger your Ataru form. So anytime this appears, I'll show you. You want to kind of keep this consistently up. You'll trigger an additional attack with all your moves. So Massacre primarily is going to be majority of your hits in general. Going on, I'm pretty sure there is a couple more. Where is it? Now, unlike other people, most people say Leg Slash is useless, but I have it to where Crippling Slash, I have it to where I can throw it. So, if I do my normal, rotation, and let's say he just gets out of my Force Choke when I'm doing Ravage. Do I have it on? Well, just try to pop this immediately before the guy runs off in general. Right now I don't have it set up on my throw mechanic, but it will allow to reduce the healing, and ideally it will just keep him from running away. It's very useful for war zones, not so much for PvE. If you are a PvE Carnage guy, don't even bother with it. It's useless. And primarily, that is pretty much all the moves you really use. Moving on, I guess your defenses would come next. I'm going to throw Unleash on there in case I get stunned. And Intimidating Roar. So these two, obviously to stun whoever's around you, useful for PvP since I primarily do that. And Unleash, in case of stuns. Now, next step, defenses and group buffs. I would just add on top of here, it kind of remains out of your way and etc. So I'm going to just go to my interface editor, and take my other action bar, enable it, and stack it on top. Wrong one. Whoops. As you can see, it kind of ended up exactly as it was before, except Gore was popped before. Sometimes I use Gore before Force Charge anyway. Now let's just take apart at this action bar. As you can see, it pretty much ended up exactly as the way as it was before. Or am I doing this wrong? What am I doing? I did something off. Hold up. I'm forgetting something, aren't I? No, I don't want to throw the hut ball. I'm going to put it up here. Oh, that's right. I'm missing a Leg Slash. I had a minor error with action bars. Let me just fix this for a moment. Unleash. And no, that was under Sith Warrior. Intimidating Roar. And there we go. That is all complete. Next up, defenses and your group buffs. Organize it any way you want. Ideally, you're going to want certain moves in particular that are mainly important. Undying Rage is super important. Awesome move. Love it. Predation, you're going to be popping all the time if you have your skill tree set up correctly. I'll let you guys take a look at my utility points for a moment. I have Skillful. I have Cloak of Carnage. Increases the damage dealt by Cloak of Pain by 15% and increases its duration by 4 seconds. Brazen. Increase your damage reduction by 2% and you build 2 Fury when attacked. The Fury building effect cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. Cloak of Rage. While Cloak of Pain is active, it generates 1 rage whenever you are attacked. This effect cannot occur more than once every 2 seconds. On to Masterful. Predation will no longer require or consume Fury, but will go on cooldown for 30 seconds when activated, so you can kind of consistently activate it in general. Defensive roll, which is awesome. Reduces damage taken from area effects by 30%, and increases internal and elemental damage reduction by 5. For Heroic, I have Undying, increases the duration of Undying Rage by 2 seconds, and reduces its cooldown by 30 seconds. This is ideal, especially in PvP, when you are near death, and it basically reduces all damage you take by 99%. It's just great in general to use. And I have it, the length is extended. Blood Ward, getting attacked while Saber Ward is active heals you for 33% of your health, of your maximum health. This effect cannot occur more than once every second. This is very ideal, especially in PvP or even PvE sometimes if you're getting targeted. So that every time I'm attacked, it will just heal me up. And going on to group buffs, we'll go back to that. Where is it? I'm gonna throw my defenses on top just to kind of keep them separate, and my group buffs at the bottom, or my Fury consumers. So Berserk. As you can see, all 3 are at the bottom. Berserk, Predation, and Bloodthirst. And Frenzy, in case you want to quickly try to drop all 3, which is great for PvE and even PvP as well. And then at the top, this also will come in handy, so I'm going to kind of count it as a defense. Obscures the target's vision, reducing its melee and ranged accuracy by 90% for 6 seconds. Cannot be used on operation bosses, so it's really good for PvP or even just, PvE flashpoints can come in handy. I'll consider this a defense. Force Camouflage. It just puts you into stealth so that you can quickly jump out of combat in case you're getting your ass kicked. And what else is there? Cloak of Pain. That's the one, as you saw, upgrades. It's my defense. It reduces my all the damage I take and etc. Very important if you're getting attacked. And I think I've covered most of it. Yep. So as you can see here, I still have room to spare for future improvements. I would then just keep an action bar on the side for like speeder or etc. And that way this whole side's all cleared up and I got a good point of view. Now, throwing down my speeders. As you can see on this character, I don't have many. They're all on my sniper. But, yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any further questions, just let me know. Take care.